Good evening, everyone. This is KC Reginald Jr.
It's your man J Dub, Justin Waters in the building.
Jay Swish, Joel Swisher in the house.
This is UnderDawg Sportz. Welcome to the show, everybody. We have a lot to cover. I want to get right into it. We're going to start off with the NFL All-Decade team being announced this week. What'd they get right? What'd they get wrong?
I was kind of surprised on a couple of things. One, Devin Hester was on this decade's kickoff team and everything. I'm like, Devin Hester, I ain't remembered him since before 2010. And he's on this list. Although he is the GOAT as far as punt return and kick return is concerned, I give him that. But I was kind of surprised at that. Quarterback-wise, we all kind of knew that was happening. Other than that, I was not totally shocked. So everything I'm actually okay with for now. But, yeah.
So you're okay with Aaron Rodgers over Drew Brees?
I got to look through the list again, but I was okay with it.
You're okay with Aaron Rodgers over Drew Brees?
Yeah, for me, probably the biggest snub with Drew Brees. Well, obviously, they can only pick two quarterbacks. So they had Brady and Rodgers. It's just unfortunate for Brees. You know, he won the Super Bowl the previous decade, and he wasn't on that team either, the 2000s team. And then this decade, he just put up ridiculous numbers, but then he took to the third wheel again. So it's disappointing, but you know that's kind of just how it's been for Drew Brees. In a way, kind of I guess he's been an underrated quarterback. Even though he put up crazy numbers, but he's always been in the back seat of Rodgers and Brady, and then even in the previous decade, Kenny Manning as well.
It's kind of crazy. You can call the greatest statistical quarterback of all time.
And go ahead, Reg, before I say anything, then there is one I do got to take back. I just looked at it, just thought about it.
It's kind of crazy that you can call the greatest statistical quarterback.
Anyway, Cameron Jordan is on this all-decade list. I'm okay with it, but Cameron Jordan above Khalil Mack was kind of a stretch because Khalil Mack is listed as linebacker.
Yeah, you don't want.
And he's more of a he's like more of a 3-4 technique guy. So he has more of his hand in the ground than he has his hand than he's really doing coverage. So I was kind of surprised with that one. Realistically speaking, I would have had Chandler Jones at defensive end too, more than I would have had Cam Jordan. I mean, I was cool with it, but to go with your point, the Drew Brees one, I actually totally agree with you because here's one huge factor with Drew Brees. Both him, and if you really want to get technical, Aaron Rodgers won the 2009-2010 season. The Super Bowl that they beat my Steelers in was in 2010, but it was the 2009 season. So this decade, there's no really relevancy. And Drew Brees, although he didn't win the Super Bowl, hell, I would have probably put, if we're going to go based off Super Bowls, I would have probably put Russell Wilson ahead of Wilson.
Yeah.
But if we're going to go based on numbers, I would have probably had Drew Brees above Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers had great numbers, don't get me wrong, but he also had some times where his numbers weren't up to par. So compared to Drew Brees, it seemed like he was a streamline of consistency, even this past year, which when he was hurt. So I was kind of like, I'm not 100% sure about this one. But, I mean, it definitely was touchdown home. I give him that. Also, Shady McCoy, he had a great tenure the first half of the 2020s with the Eagles, but his stint with Buffalo and KC, he did not absolutely do nothing. At least AP did have 1,000 yards with both Washington and Arizona. They just didn't use him right in New Orleans. I won't even count that.
So I'm gonna jump in here because I had y'all on mute. So yeah, I guess y'all couldn't hear me. But Drew Brees is a second-tier quarterback because of being overshadowed, he's still the greatest statistical quarterback of all time. Like, period.
Correct. Exactly.
So,
Yeah,
I'm
true.
sorry, Aaron Rodgers. I know you got a Super Bowl, and if this was who won Super Bowls contest, then great. But Drew Brees is still the greatest statistical quarterback of all time, and that's in the era of Tom Brady. That's going into New Orleans having questions about whether his shoulder could perform. He ended up being, or currently is, the greatest statistical quarterback of all time, and you leave him off this list because he didn't win a Super Bowl? That's just stupid. Second thing I have on this list is Frank Gore. I don't care about what his numbers say at the end of the day. He has never been anyone you game plan against. So, no, he does not belong on this list. Yes, you knew I was going there because it's so freaking glaring. You never game plan for this guy. How the hell is he on this roster? It tells me how much the running back position has kind of faded into the background in the National Football League if you put Frank Gore on this list.
So let me ask you this question. Because Gore-wise, I can see why they did it because when 5 out of those 10 years he's had over 1,000 yards, and then two more where he was 976 and 961. So he was barely there. But here's the biggest thing I have to say with Frank Gore. Against Le'Veon Bell, against someone like Gurley, who at a lot of points they weren't considered media guys either. Do you think this is more of a media thing, giving it to Frank Gore? Because I'll be honest with you, Frank Gore is not even the greatest running back in San Francisco history. Let alone you giving him all decade.
All decade.
I mean, yeah, I'm giving this two running backs in San Francisco that I could go right now over Frank Gore any day of the week. They just, unfortunately, they got hurt and Gore stayed healthy. So if you want to give him that, yes, okay, I'll give you that. But other than that, man, he was just consistent. But think about it like this with Gore. After this decade, he had Colin Kaepernick with him. After the 2000s, he had Cat with him, where that was another running threat, so you couldn't necessarily put 8 in the box against it because you were always wondering if they run an option, if they run a sweep, if they run a draw play for the QB, Cat won't bust one up for get a 100-yard game or bust one up for 50 yards. That helped out Frank Gore towards the end where that one was kind of a shock to me, but I can see why on consistency. But again, like you said, didn't game plan. Frank Gore and LaShawn McCoy, it's hard for me to say.
Right. Like both of those guys, I just what it shows me is the deterioration of the value of the running back position.
Totally agree.
Swish.
Totally agree. Yo.
Uh-huh.
It's you.
You hear me?
What you think? Yeah, we got you. What you think?
Oh, yeah. Well, I was going to say, I know we're doing the first step later, but don't you kind of maybe think Gore, maybe his spirit's kind of like Curtis Martin's, because, I don't think when Curtis Martin played, nobody would game plan for him either. He had, great.
Well, wait.
I disagree with you.
I got to first of all, I got to go with Curtis Martin was my neighborhood. So that's one. He went to Pitt with me, too. Well, not with me. I mean, he's obviously older. People game plan for Curtis Martin. He was just quiet. People really didn't game. Here's the thing. Here's the thing. Name me a time that Frank Gore was the absolute scariest in the NFL.
Well, no, yeah, he never has been.
He
just has crazy numbers, but like Casey mentioned a minute ago, he's nobody game plans around this guy. They didn't do it then, they didn't do it now.
Because for the 9 times he's had over 1,000 yards. His Pro Bowl years were 06, 09, and then he had 2011, 12, and 13. So I mean, he had 3 years in the Pro Bowl, 1 time All Pro, and that was 06. So how is he on the all decade team for the 2010s when he's only been All Pro once, and that was in 2006? that's why I was like, this is kind of that weird category. And I think some of this is media because I want to throw out Le'Veon Bell for the time he had in Pittsburgh. I mean, last year he really didn't do too much because he's learning that you need a line. But because he was not the media darling and he skipped that year, but statistically speaking, you had a game plan against Le'Veon way more than you ever had a game plan.
As a Kansas City Chiefs fan, you absolutely did. And it didn't matter that you game planned against him because he was still gonna just crush your spirits.
So who we take? Like, you want to figure out like who we replace?
I would be honest with you, and Reggie gonna love this one. I would have Jamal Charles.
Yeah, I knew you was gonna say it. I knew you was gonna say it. You just didn't want to admit it.
Yeah, I mean, I really didn't. But the only thing that killed Jamal Charles is injuries.
Right?
But he was. Think about it. His 2013 year when he had 1,200 yards rushing and 600 yards receiving. I mean, the thing is with Jamal Charles, he was a dual threat, but just like every running back, we have to be honest with one thing. Frank Gore is an anomaly at the running back position because he lasted so long. There's not very few running backs that lasted his career. That I will give Frank Gore credit for. For whatever reason, the football gods made that man stay healthy.
So I'll say this on his longevity is because they didn't have a lot of expectation out of him after a certain point. Like 3 to 4 yards a carry after a certain point was acceptable because he's such a team guy. Like let's go all the way back to 2012 is the last time he had actually 2018 he was 4.6 yards a carry. So I guess, but like no one's really expected him to get you those big numbers. Like he's just been, I'm going to throw him in there to support my running back staff. I don't expect him to be number one, but he just ends up out enduring everyone and taking over the number one spot.
This year, this 2010 decade team, when it comes to the running back position, is very weird because it's either they came in strong during the early twos and kind of faded out towards the middle, or they came in strong in the middle, and that's what they're doing now. But, you know what I mean, they weren't there. They might have been in college still when the 2010s rolled around. So it's really hard to pick because the only two I can say, yes, I'll totally agree that dominated the 2010s was Marshawn and Adrian Peterson. Rashawn had great years, but that kind of ended in Philly, and that was he was in Philly until 20, I want to say 16 maybe, so that's still 4 years and he wasn't there. And again, Frank Gore was just a consistency factor because he didn't get help, but did you really game plan against him? I mean, it's sad to say, but Frank Gore to me is Dennis Smith. He had a great line. He was under it, but under the real deal, if you put him on any other system, I don't know if my man's going to last. But think about it. He's still not the greatest running back to come out to use. I mean, we can still argue McGahee, Porter, or Edge right now. Fact. Now all day from the Edge is the greatest. But Frank Gore was just a model of consistency because he's the AC Green Award of running back.
We said this before. This sounds like a replay. We said this before. He's the AC Green. Like he's not even Cal Ripken, but I guess he is Cal Ripken because he just keeps playing and playing and playing, and the numbers come with how many games you play. I guess. The only person, or the person that people are going to be surprised that I say should not belong on this list, because you only played 5 seasons in the decade, is Eric Berry.
Oh boy.
And yes, Kansas City fans will come at me. I don't give a damn. Like Eric Berry. Like, I'm sorry. No. He really had 2 dominant seasons. I can really only remember the one. I think this is a sympathy award because he had cancer and missed time. But I don't believe he belongs on this list as the top safety or one of the top safeties in the decade. I just don't.
I agree with you with that because I would have took Ed Reed or Troy over Eric Berry realistically speaking, and both of those guys retired in 2016. But I just thought they were more of a threat. The other thing I was surprised with too is defensive back. I didn't get how they had it. The cornerback, defensive back, safety. They had Chris Harris Jr. and Tyler Matthew as defensive back. But I'm like, why can't it be either free safety or strong safety or cornerback? You made like a whole ambiguous category saying defensive back. I didn't get that one. I'm cool with Chris Harris. I'm cool with Tyler Matthew, to be honest with you, on the list. I just didn't get they made like a subpar category.
Yeah, I would take Matthew over Barry.
I would too.
It's just me. Yeah. And I mean, both of these guys wore the uniform of the Kansas City Chiefs, one for much longer. And it's really not a case of what have you done for me lately. It's about what does your body of work truly look like when we compare it to other people that were actually available and played. Like I'm sorry, he doesn't belong. And I might get slammed as a Chiefs fan, but he doesn't belong.
I mean, Eric Berry, I'm going to say this, Reg, and of course you're going to know more than me. Eric Berry had probably about 3.5 great years, and maybe 2.5 great years. He had good years where, of course, you make the Pro Bowl and everything, but great years where I would say all-pro years, maybe 2. Because here's the thing I'm judging it off. Actually, I'm wrong. 3 years he was all-pro. So when you do all decade, I'm basing it on how many years you were all-pro, not Pro Bowl. That's where that's where I'm gonna go ahead and agree. I'll be honest with you, who they didn't put on this list, and that's because he retired 2 years early, was Cam Chancellor. I would have had Chancellor from Seattle over Barry. I'm just saying, Cam Chancellor was a dog who just happened to retire early because he had neck. But he was more versatile than a lot of people give him credit. Where you could actually slide him in sometimes playing outside linebacker in this thing, if not just playing safety, even playing corner sometimes as well. So I had Cam above Eric Berry.
Yeah.
But
I'm not that much of a homer, basically. I'm not that much of a homer. Like, I know what I saw. I know where my team finished. I know what our weakness was, which is typically it was our defense. And for us to reward a guy that was part of that weakness, that did not significantly stand out in each and every season. Like you're saying 3, and they did. It is 3 all-pro seasons. I think he deserved it once. That's just me looking as a Chiefs fan. I love Eric Berry, the player, the person, but the Chiefs were wise to move on. Speaking of moving on, that's exactly what we need to do here. Todd Gurley failed his physical. He's the second player to do so. The Falcons, however, feel like at some point they're going to have no problem getting Todd Gurley past his physical. But if it wasn't Todd Gurley, would this player not be brought into the new contract?
I would say yeah, because look at what the Ravens did with Michael Brockers. Ravens signed Michael Brockers. He failed the physical, and next you know, Michael Brockers ends up going back to signing with the Rams again, despite the physical. They were willing to take a stand. The reason I also brought this up is because Arizona has come out and said that D-Hop having some knee issues, so he didn't pass the physical the first time, and he hasn't been able to get back to check to go to the physicals because everything going with COVID. So Texans fans can cross their fingers. There is a
no. There is no way in West Hell.
Absolutely not.
There's no way in West Hell. No, don't give them false hope. Don't do it. Arizona would waive the physical to get D-Hop in the fold.
Correct. But they said ultimately D-Hop might have some knee injuries that are lingering, which is fine. I mean,
Arizona still wants him.
Yeah, hands down.
Can you imagine the chaos that would cause if that trade got rescinded?
In the locker room. The hell with everywhere else. In the locker room.
You would have to trade him again.
Yes.
There would be no way, because there's no way he would play with the team. he would play. He would be down for the players.
But you know what? You know who should be rooting for it though? You know who should be rooting for it to be rescinded? It's Bill O'Brien, because he got played, and he's been made to account for it in the media how bad he got played on this deal. So he's secretly rooting that this trade is rescinded. He's secretly rooting that the Cardinals say we can't take the chance. But it's a 4th-round pick and David Johnson, who is not in their plans. So, of course they can take the chance. They don't give a damn.
I just don't even see it. Like I said, if this deal gets rescinded, hey, first of all, no team is going to give Bill O'Brien what he wants for D-Hop, because they all know that D-Hop is going to want out. So it's just like, all right, well, you got option one. Either option one, you're going to trade him for what we give you, or option two, D-Hop gets pissed off enough where he just might early retire, i.e. Barry Sanders, i.e. Megatron, i.e. a lot of other players that say, you know what, I'm out. I can see that. So it's like, you better take what you can get right now. And Bill O'Brien right now,
I think he's going to be fired as GM. I think he's going to be fired as GM. And there's a couple reasons why I say that. Laramie Tunsil was worth 2 first-round picks somehow.
Makes no sense.
Laramie Tunsil was worth 2 first-round picks. Now you have to pay him, even though he may not be worth what you end up paying him. And DeAndre Hopkins was only worth David Johnson and a 4th. I think Bill O'Brien is on his last leg as the general manager. I think whoever they hire for that position next season will probably have to inherit O'Brien as the coach. But I think Cal is going to have to move on. Because I just
got one question for both of y'all. Why don't they give Rick Smith back his job?
Well, that's
honestly
may what happen.
They should.
It may well happen.
I mean, think about it. Rick Smith was the one that traded up to get Deshaun. Rick Smith also was the one who liked Patrick Mahomes and was pissed at Patrick. They had to pull it because they were pissed at Patrick so early. They thought Patrick was playing in Texas. He a Texas kid, it makes sense, but he didn't. He's now Super Bowl champ with KC. So they had to go up to get Deshaun. They took a guy that was projected to be a low first round, early second round in J.J. Watt, and then they had picked D-Hop, who D-Hop was also slated to be a second, maybe early third round. All these were supposed to be high, not quality, and look what happened with the Texans. Not to mention, you pick a guy, we keep forgetting about this. I mean, maybe because his career didn't end the way it needed to. They took a guy from Tennessee that didn't get drafted and made him into an all-world, all-pro in Arian Foster. People forget about those.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what has Bill O'Brien done in this short tenure of time? You got Larry Tunsil, yes, he went to a Pro Bowl. Congratulations. He also led the league in false starts. That could be critical to anybody. Any given point.
For 2 first-round picks, though. Don't.
Correct.
You have to put what he traded to get that player, because if you don't, you take away how bad of a trade it was.
The icing on the cake with that is they don't have that many picks because they were just bouncing back from the Deshaun trade. So now you trade more picks away, which could be your franchise. You know what I mean? It's crazy. You're going to go ahead and give rid of all these picks and have nothing in the barrel. I mean, people don't fail to realize that can kill a career. That can kill a team.
I'm telling you that, next season it's a blatant possibility Deshaun Watson says, I don't want to play here anymore. And you can franchise me and we can go year to year. But when that scenario happens, here's the problem that Bill O'Brien has now created for himself and forced the Texans' hands a little bit is you can lowball Bill O'Brien and get what you want from him. You can make him overspend to get what he wants from you. So every general manager, and I promise you if he has to trade Deshaun Watson, it's going to end up being a second-round pick. It's the best he's going to get. I promise you that. Because he's ruined his reputation as a general manager by his trades. He's overpaid and underdemanded when he had a genuine talent. So they better hope Deshaun Watson wants to stay in the fold. They better hope he wants to be the Houston Texans quarterback. They better hope Bill O'Brien doesn't piss him off this season. Because they didn't re-sign him when they had that window, when they had D-Hop with them, and had him feeling all warm and fuzzy inside. He's not feeling warm and fuzzy anymore. So if I'm him, I play on make them keep paying me one of the top 3 salaries in the league for the next 5 years until they finally say, fine, let me go. And I would have made a boatload of money.
So basically, this is the Kirk Cousins theory. You're going to keep franchising me.
Because I don't want to play for you.
Until it's time for me to be a free agent. You can't do neither one. You can't transition or franchise me, and I'm going to walk anyway. That's what happened in Washington with Kirk Cousins. They kept franchising over and over again. And finally, when he got a chance to be a free agent, he said, all right, Kirk, you staying? Hell no, I'm gone. Peace.
Yeah. Joe?
They got a really nice contract for no sense.
Joe?
It's just hard to defend the guy right now. I mean, honestly, to me, probably the only person that's defending Bill O'Brien with anything is probably his family. I mean, I haven't heard anybody say, "Oh, this is a good move," or Bill O'Brien's doing the right thing.
The owner backed O'Brien.
Yeah,
on that one.
Yeah,
but that's the only thing I don't get.
So his wife and the owner, those are probably the only 2 people that are defending this guy right now.
But it's scary because if the owner's backing you, look, it's one thing to be Jerry Jones and turn the pot because you the GM, the owner, the Indian chief, and everything else that's not outside of being a player. It's another where you just basically inherited this team because your dad died. And your dad made smart moves that you're not making. Your dad was the one that hired this black guy to be a GM that took risks that made y'all, somewhat successful. It made y'all not look like the little brother to the Colts and Titans every year. But this dude is regressing this team. Ownership got to come in and say, yo, Bill, y'all got to chill because this team is going to regress badly. You have too many high-paid players at the wrong positions, i.e. J.J. Watt. And you have getting rid of all your players that need to be paid, i.e. D-Hop, and now you got a pissed-off quarterback that could be the future of your franchise, that is the future and current of your franchise. With that being said, this is looking like a disaster. It looks like the Texans are trying to go ahead and be the Cleveland Browns, if you ask me.
I 100% agree with that synopsis of the Browns.
So obviously, I think Calvin Era, I think he backs up Bill O'Brien. So Casey, you mentioned O'Brien might be in trouble. As long as Cal has Bill's back, Bill ain't got nothing to worry about now.
So what happens when Deshaun Watson says, "I'm not going to sign a long-term contract because you traded away my best weapon"? You could have done better than overpaying Laramie Tunsil, and you traded my best weapon for a has-been flash. And I'm going to say it because until he proves us otherwise, I guess that's what he was, a flash-in-the-pan running back and a 4th-round pick. Like,
one-hit wonder.
Yeah, it's a flash in the pan. Like, until he comes back and shows us otherwise, he had a one-hit wonder. And he's a one-song writer. Like, that's it. You got the best I got to give you, and that's it.
So basically, the Texans got Millie Vanilli at running back.
Absolutely. So what happens when Watson says, you know what? And I think why Bill O'Brien got the title was because of Watson's strong endorsement at the end of the season. I think when Watson said, I love Bill O'Brien, I want to play for him the rest of my career at the end of last season, then Cal got that emboldenment to let's just give the reins of the kingdom to Bill O'Brien. Well, since then, he's lost his best weapon and been on Twitter with some encrypted mess that Apple can't figure out. But basically giving hints that maybe the marriage between he and Bill O'Brien is not as strong as it was at season's end. So if Watson comes back and say, I don't want to play for this guy, how strong is O'Brien's job then? If they got to pick quarterback or coach.
In today's world, go ahead, Joe.
Well, to me, just my personal opinion. When you promote this guy after that brutal showing against Kansas City, I just feel like McNair is going to just back O'Brien. I mean, maybe Deshaun Watson's not in the future plans.
Whoa!
No, I mean that's a hot take, but that's a hot take. I know, but maybe Deshaun Watson's not in the future plans. Especially after all this stuff has happened. Maybe he got one foot on the door already. Maybe maybe play the season out, and then maybe trade me.
Okay, but then who?
Can I keep it 100 though? I do got an idea. Remember, all these plays and moves and stuff was Rick Smith. And if you know anything about sports or anything about it, when a new guy comes in, let's use a better example. Look at Carolina. Carolina got rid of everything that had anything to do with Super Bowl 50. And Super Bowl 50 was only, 4 or 5 years ago? We're not too far out from Super Bowl 50. And they got rid of, I've never seen where a whole team they got rid of a whole team. Mm-hmm. From starting quarterback all the way down to the 53rd man on the roster.
They
got rid of everybody.
These are guys that are insecure in who they are, and I don't believe. It bothers me that owners gave them that much control in year one. The reason that it bothers me is because if I'm an owner, if you don't make it past year one, I need to have a plan going forward, and Cam Newton would have been that plan. Now I have to ride with Teddy, and I have to.
Right, exactly. And the thing is, with going back to the Texans, it's just, okay, let's be real. Bill O'Brien likes statue-esque quarterback. He came in at the very tail end of the Matt Staub era. He was the one that co-signed with Rick Smith, which ended up being the demise of Rick Smith because he didn't like it, which was Brock. I keep wanting to say Brock Lesnar. Brock Lesnar actually threw the ball. Brock Osweiler.
Yeah, Brock Lesnar would be pissed at you for that comparison.
Versus these young guys that are athletic. I don't think he wanted. Look at the three quarterbacks more recently that have been successful in this: Deshaun, Patrick Mahomes, and Lamar Jackson. Not to mention, I'm not going there with the color thing. I could, but I'm not. But all these are athletic quarterbacks that can move. Bill O'Brien wants Tom Brady type statue pocket quarterbacks that don't exist in today's NFL. If you get a statuesque quarterback that can move that can't move, they won't last in the NFL probably more than 2 years. Look at Paxton Lynch when Denver drafted. Actually, look at every quarterback Denver's draft not named Tim Tebow in the last couple of years. They're all statues that can't move, and they ain't last 2 years in the league. So maybe that's what O'Brien is banking off of.
He believes in old nomics. Then you're saying he's a subscriber to the old pocket passer, and he's willing to let a guy who has the potential to be one of the top quarterbacks for the next 10 years walk away because of his ego. And Cal will accept that.
Yeah.
Wow. I just don't.
Yeah.
Listen, this is me saying that the Chiefs have to pick between Andy Reid, a Hall of Fame coach, and Patrick Mahomes. You don't do that. Like, I'm taking the kid because he's going to play longer. I'm taking Watson because
I ain't got to worry about that.
I'm just saying that this is the type of decision you'd be trying to make a team make. And you can't pick a coach over a player at a quarterback position. Now, if this was a running back who could get hurt tomorrow, then yes. But a quarterback? Like a quarterback you believe in? There's no way in hell you take Bill O'Brien. Like, no way.
If they would guarantee Adrian Peterson in his prime or Aaron Foster in the prime, if it would guarantee the running back that in their prime, and the Texans were a running team where they ran the ball a lot, I get the trade. My biggest issue, they were pass first, run second team. So why did you go get a running back unless you're changing the philosophy of the team, which also kind of changes the philosophy of the quarterback.
Well,
the quarterback is used to being in the spread system, and now you're going to basically take it to a high formation? Come on, man.
I'll say this about that. You have tried to be the passing team. It hasn't worked. And you've tried to patchwork your running back position, and it didn't work. So let's try to get us a guy. Now, I think they bet on the wrong horse. Like, until I'm proven wrong, this horse has been shot and put down already, but he's collecting the check. I think they bet on the wrong horse, but I don't mind them changing their game plan in the middle of the show because passing the ball to D-Hop wasn't getting them out of the divisional round.
Which is true. But the fact of the matter is a quarterback needs, either way you work it, is either a quarterback has a bunch of good, solid receivers like y'all have in KC, where it's not necessarily a superstar. Tyreek Hill's on the verge, but he's not.
No.
You can't put him in the same category as D-Hop and Julio and some of these other guys.
Or Travis Kelce.
But you have a solid core of wide receivers and an outstanding tight end. The Texans don't have that. They are the Destiny's Child when it comes to receiving core. D-Hop is Beyonce, and the others are the rest of the crew that may or may not make it. But if you get rid of Beyonce, no one's going to go really check with the rest of the crew. Let's just be honest with you.
Oh.
They don't even have
You wrong for that, bro. You wrong for that. You wrong for that. You absolutely wrong for that.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's harsh.
No.
We gave our Texans their time, though. I'm happy about that because we didn't plan to give them that much time. It just kind of happened that way. I'm glad it did for Texans fans. Get rid of your coach / general manager if you ever want to win a Super Bowl or compete for a Super Bowl. In other news today, the NFL did away, we believe, kind of, sort of, not officially, but it's coming with the pass interference challenge. There are two options out there to kind of try out if we get a preseason one, and they're both versions of the Sky Judge, where either there's an extra official or a technology supervisor if referees make blatant mistakes, to reverse those calls. But the pass interference challenge was garbage because it was not enforced
at all. I'll be honest with you. The percentages of the quarterback, of the cornerback getting challenged, or the pass interference, getting challenged, was like, shit, we could hit the lotto and have better numbers. To be honest with you, I think they may have had one or two, maybe three turnovers, but I can just tell you from a Steelers perspective, Mike Tomlin challenged it like 10 times and never won. And there were some clear ones that was like,
well, I seen some of those challenges, and he knew better than some of them. He was just throwing a damn flag because he ain't had nothing else to do.
Right. But I'm just going back to preseason where they had similar hits to like the Saints did, which was one of the most abysmal plays in Super Bowl history. Ladies and gentlemen, again, the Super Bowl 2 years ago should have been the Saints and the Chiefs, and not the Patriots and Rams. That was just one of the worst Super Bowls I've ever seen. Anyway,
I just want to tell you before you keep going, that's not why the Saints lost the game, just for the record. So go ahead.
And that was one of the key reasons. You can't tell me otherwise, but that was one of the key reasons.
It wasn't the same reason, but that's just my thing.
We'll definitely go back to that one.
No. Let's hear his opinion.
All right, let's go for it. Go ahead, Joe. What's the main reason they lost that game?
Oh, so why the Saints lose that game?
Uh-huh.
I mean, you're at home, you're up double digits, and then Drew Brees threw that pick in overtime. But of course everybody's gonna look at the non-pass interference call, because it was pass interference, but the problem I have is people just want to point to that as the reason why the Saints lost the game. I mean, you're at home, you're up double digits, granted early in the game, but you had to win that game.
Okay, so I agree with you that totally, but I'm gonna do something I don't rarely do. I'm gonna take something out of KC's book. So a couple months ago, we talked about and we got to use the correlation with sports in general. When the Rockets got 2 points taken away from them on a bad call, and KC said, it's about the momentum. I said, it's 2 damn points in the third quarter. KC said, it's momentum still, da-da-da-da. And I still argue with that one. But that play deflated a whole team. Because if you ever looked at that team when they went into overtime, even Sean Payton and a couple of other players kept looking at the refs like, yo, y'all gonna call this? They completely blew the wind out of their bodies completely. It was like they didn't blow the wind. They blew the ghost and the spirit and the Holy Mary and everything else involved out of that body when that play happened. That whole arena, when that play didn't happen, when that call didn't happen, it took away everything. And I don't think the Saints have truly recovered since now the last 2 years in a row that bone-ass calls that
Wait. So as far as this year,
had 3 heartbreaking finishes last 2 years too.
As far as this year, Drew Brees choked. Listen, I understand about the calls, but again, this is the guy that we continuously say is the greatest statistical quarterback of all time. And his numbers in that game were just abysmal. Like, it's a reason why, what's his name, Taysom Hill or whatever the hell his name is, the backup, is clamoring to be a starter now. It's because Brees was so bad in that game that he looked like he was the best option for the Saints. So, no, don't give Brees a pass.
I'll give you that. I'm not giving him a pass. But I'm definitely 100% full telling you, I will not give as much as you like to say. In case I agree with, so I agree with you with one thing. They could have came back and won the game in overtime. They could have, but they weren't. You can look on it. They weren't. When they went to the coin toss, you could look and it was just like they were ho-hum out of it. Like Sean Payton was still arguing with the ref about the call. It's dead now. Once the next play happens, it's water under the bridge. Nothing's going to change.
And old Mo is a bitch. Like old Mo is a bitch and a half. Like when momentum is on your side, bro, it's like you can run through a wall.
In football, is the key correspondent of it. We'll use another one real quick, and then we can probably move on. Look at the Texans. When the whole venom started to come back with Kansas City, the Texans didn't know what to do.
They didn't know what hit them.
Whatever energy and drive they had to get up 28-0, they lost. And even when they were still up 5 points, it was just like, oh, we're done. You could look at the sideline. They were making dumb penalties at this point. It was like, whatever y'all lost, man, I don't know what to tell you. It's like they took their souls, too. It's like Kansas City fans said, no, we're going to take your souls, you have fun, and now we're going to go up 50.
So can I add something to that real quick? Just because I'm Casey Reginald Jr. and I got to get some points back from earlier with Eric Berry. Like, this is the second time in the playoffs that a Kansas City team has just ripped the heart out of Houston. Baseball, now football, but I'm just trying to.
I've lost track.
I'm just trying to get some points back from my hometown for the Eric Berry thing. And as a Kansas City fan, owning a team or owning a city, forget a team, owning a city like that in 2 playoffs in 2 different sports, it just feels like warm and fuzzy inside. All right, yeah, go ahead.
I just want to make one more point before we move on, though. About it's all about you talk about momentum and all that, but I want to go back to your team a long time ago, Justin. Remember when the Steelers played the Colts and Polamalu got an interception and they overturned it, and the Steelers could have just said, you know what, screw it, but they ended up still winning the game. So it's all about how you respond to a bad call. You start feeling sorry for yourself, or
But I think that's coaching.
Let's just it happens. Let's just move on and fight this adversity.
I think that's coaching and atmosphere.
Right. That's also certain teams are built for that. This is the thing I was trying to drive with that. You used a great one, Joe. Sean Payton did not go back to the huddle and say, guys, screw it. We got through. We still got to win this game. Sean kept arguing with the refs.
He played victim.
Sean was arguing with the refs on the coin toss of the overtime.
Yep, he played victim.
Like, right, and it's like, yo, y'all need to concentrate on this because y'all still have a fighting chance to win this game. Y'all are home. It's, when you go to overtime, it's nothing. But he didn't do it. I could say the same thing for when we won with Texas-based one. The Super Bowl, the last time Super Bowl was here when you had Atlanta versus New England.
Oh yeah, that's another example. Like if you're
coach he's looking for stuff.
It depends on.
Look at like, yo,
it depends on how far you want to examine this. Like just momentum is so important. Like and the small things count when it's momentum involved. Like. Exactly. I could have just missed a 3-point shot in basketball. Like it went in and came out, but I still missed. And it's now in my head, and I'm going to try to overcorrect. And because of that, because a team is making a run at me, now I'm trying to do too much to stop that team. It's just, you cannot ever understate momentum, but to defeat momentum, you have to have a coach and an environment, and this is where Bill O'Brien continues to fail, and an environment that is conducive to some mistakes. Like, these are humans, and they're going to make mistakes. It's how the coach reacts to it. In Kansas City's case, Andy Reid says, you got that out of your system? We got some work to do now. Right, move on. Yeah. Like, win the game. But if you harp on mistakes, and this has been Bill O'Brien since he was the tea kettle in New England, like you can have all that extra drama stuff and let it get to you. Sean Payton the same way. Like you can keep letting it chip at your ankles, but at the same time, if you move on and you tell your team it doesn't matter what happens, we're good enough to overcome this bull, then that's what separates. Sean Payton's a great offensive mind. I don't think he's a Hall of Fame coach.
Woo. Another subject. That's another one. So we can go there with that. I'm actually agreeing with you on that one to a certain extent, but we can talk about that.
Anyway, let's move on. We were supposed to be talking about the pass interference challenge. Somehow we got I don't know how the hell we got there, but we did. Let's move on to what Justin likes to call our versus segment.
We versus deep today, so we got a lot of versus topics. And guys, I really appreciate y'all giving me some versus topics. Except for Reggie White versus J.J. Watt, there was not a chance in hell.
Bro, you changed more than one of mine, so I'm a little bit bitter here. And I was gonna kind of call you. I was gonna call you out on it. I ain't lying. I'm just telling you the truth. I was gonna call you out on it because I like Roethlisberger versus Elway versus Roethlisberger versus Marino.
Well, here's the problem: Elway's stats versus Ben. Ben is killing him. Like rings is the only thing we can continue with, but career average passing yards per game is 185 to 315. That was like, okay, we can't do that. I need someone that can throw the ball more. Elway didn't throw the ball a lot when he first came in the league. He started becoming more of a passer when in the 90s versus going in the 80s. Ben's always been a long threat. That's the only reason why I chose like, all right, let me go Ben instead. Ben versus Marino, because that's big yardage for big yardage. Remember, when y'all give me these, I'm pulling up the stats.
Yeah, but I'm saying that, like, when Dan Marino retired, he was the greatest quarterback statistically of all time. Ben Roethlisberger no, it's not. Not statistically. When he retired, he was the greatest statistical quarterback of all time. I didn't say the greatest quarterback, because greatest quarterback in his era is Joe Montana. It's the reason you add.
Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's the reason you add that caveat. It's the same thing that we do with Drew Brees. Like, he is the greatest statistical quarterback of all time, but Tom Brady is the GOAT. Like, in Marino's era, it was Montana. He was the GOAT. So he got the moniker statistical quarterback, greatest statistical quarterback. Ben will never have been that.
Well, in this era, no. You're correct. In this era, no. But here's a couple things I wanted to throw out. One, let's use the draft class that Ben came in, which is always going to be argued with the draft class that Elway and Marino.
Why?
That's one.
Why?
Because those are the only classes that had 3 Hall of Famers in both classes.
Okay.
Like it or not, Phillips was going to Hall of Fame. Like it or not, Eli was going to Hall of Fame.
Bro.
Like it or not. I'm just saying.
And definitely know I'm on the not column here. Let's make that clear. I'm on the not column here.
Okay. Eli, we debated about, and I kind of agree with you that I'm not.
And Deion Sanders, not just me. And Deion Sanders.
But Phillip Rivers is definitely should be in the Hall of Fame.
For what?
Yards, winning percentage. He just don't have a ring. The only thing, Phillip Rivers is touchdowns. Didn't make that many interceptions. That's what I'm saying. I'm gonna give it to Phillip. Phillip almost had better stats than Ben because Ben. Only difference is Ben can stay healthy a lot, or suspended. But Elway, the one thing I was trying to drive at is Elway only averaged up until maybe year 8 or 9, he was not over 210 yards per game passing. I was very surprised about that because I couldn't think of running back then if you hate. But
Phillip Rivers has never been an All-Pro.
Yeah, it's a different era too.
I don't care. I don't care.
But how many times have you been a Pro Bowl?
That doesn't. Okay, wait. You just devalued Pro Bowl with Laramie Tunsil, but now you're wanting to value it? No, hell no, absolutely not. Nope. Phillip Rivers has never been an All-Pro.
But here's the point I'm trying to drive at.
He's never won an MVP.
Wait, stop. Before we go there, I'm not going there with Phillip Rivers category. I'm going there with Ben and Marino because the fact of the matter is, it's bulk yards versus bulk yards. Ben came in and actually changed the culture of technically how Steelers football was. The Steelers football was ground and pound. Ben came in launching that bitch, and it worked. And next thing you know, we're a passing offense somewhere around 2008-ish or so. Mind you, we still ran the ball a lot, but it became a passing offense. Dan has always been passing. I don't know how many 1,000-yard rushers he had on his squad, but it's always been that. So it's easy to make sense with that.
Yeah.
Even John Elway's later years, it was mainly run the ball. John Elway just didn't throw the game away. He was statistically going to make sure you're still in it. He didn't turn the ball over, but he didn't throw for a lot of yards. That's the only reason why I was like, man, using Elway, I would have did Elway versus someone that didn't throw the ball as much, not someone that goes ahead and hike it up.
So Elway has an MVP. The only one that in this conversation that doesn't have an MVP is Ben.
So why would you put Ben versus Elway if you're going MVP?
Because I was just going off of the players I thought they were most comparable to. I think that you're using Marino here because of the Pittsburgh connection, and I'm 100% behind it.
I'm not for this one. I knew you were going to say that, but I wasn't really. I was trying to find yards for yards.
I'm just saying.
Put up yards.
Like,
because I could have took Ben off and went Andrew Luck versus Marino or somebody. I'm using somebody that threw the ball a lot versus somebody who really didn't. And they were game man. Realize that you a KC fan, you should know you played Denver enough. After a while, John Elway was more of a game manager.
Bro, you call John Elway a game manager if you want. Go down by any. You better be up by 3 scores with less than 2 minutes left because Elway was coming for your ass.
But I'm talking about the end of his career.
It doesn't matter at the beginning or middle or end of his career. That's just what he did to you. So
yeah, but he was towards the end of his career. Look at his stats. He didn't put up a lot of yards. He didn't need to.
No, he was, and he was more successful when he had to put up less work. When he had to do less work, he was more successful. Every quarterback is.
Totally agree with.
But that's every quarterback. That's how you win team games. That's why he won Super Bowls at the end of his career.
But the thing is you had a quarterback in Ben that doesn't listen to that motto. Unfortunately, that's one of the times when downfalls, and I'm not going to dwell on terms either, but Ben is going to try to put up huge numbers regardless. He doesn't need to. That was one of the things I did ride with Le'Veon Bell about. Ben don't need to put up long yardage. He don't have to go ahead and cover AB's ass. When you got a workhorse in Le'Veon Bell and a line that can block, Le'Veon could probably gone for 2 sacks if he wanted to. And give Ben a lot of time away, but that's just not how the system works. And that's what I was saying. I was like, Ben's not willing to be a game manager. Elway was. He was like, okay, cool. Later part of my career, I know I'm not going to be throwing it a hell of a lot, I don't need to throw it a hell of a lot when I got guys that can run the ball. As long as I don't turn the ball over, I got Shannon open, I got Rod Smith open, I got McCaffrey open when necessary. I'm cool with that. Ben still wants to go ahead and beat some 500 yards, and it just doesn't happen in that way. Marino was the same way. Marino, until his last days in Miami, was still trying to get up 300-400 yards.
That's because he didn't have a running game. He never had a running game.
He could have got a running game.
From who? What running back? What running back? Hold on. What running back left Miami and found success elsewhere?
No, you're not getting my point.
But you're not getting mine. You're just disregarding it. Like, what running back left Miami and had success elsewhere? Like, it wasn't because Marino wanted all the stats. It's because they didn't get the running back position correct.
But let's start from the gate. You could have drafted running backs from the gate. They were in position to draft all pro running backs. Then they didn't. They chose other positions. They could have gotten running backs to start off with like that. They could have gotten Deshaun Alexander.
Well, they tried. They tried. Like, they drafted high. Like, they drafted weed heads, but they tried. Don't make it like they weed heads.
Ricky Williams?
Yes. Yes.
Ricky Williams didn't start in Miami. Ricky Williams started in New Orleans.
I'm just saying they tried. The point is they tried to get running backs, and it just didn't work.
The only running backs they got successful that they drafted fully, not guys as a free agent, especially a free agent coming off of a year being off, was Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Yeah.
And that was the only one they had. And he actually was good for a couple of years, and then he couldn't stay healthy because he had injuries. He had knee injuries. That was the only one that Miami drafted.
One year he led the NFL in rushing touchdowns.
Right, and that was it. And then he couldn't stay healthy because he had knee injuries. He had 2 knee tears in less than 1 season, or a season and a half, and he was done.
I'm just saying Miami tried. Just because Denver succeeded doesn't mean that Elway does not belong in this conversation with Roethlisberger.
I'm not saying that. I'm going for stats versus stats, bro. We're going to keep pulling that. I'm going stats versus stats. When you pull up Marino's stats, they're damn near identical. When you pull up Marino versus Elway, not counting all pros, not counting MVPs, I'm going with statistical numbers like you pull with Drew Brees. Statistical numbers. They more correlate.
But when one guy retired, he was number 1 in all those numbers. Like, it's a reason why Dan Marino was the greatest statistical quarterback in a different era. You're right. It was a different era. And in that different era, he still outshined his peers, all of them, including who we call the GOAT, Joe Montana. Like, in his era, he dominated.
In this era of football, everybody airs out the ball because in this era of football, we can get guys like 1, Matthew Stafford, 2, Matt Ryan, 3, Matt Schaub in his Texan days. We can get guys like that and put it in those 80s and 90s eras, those early 90s eras, and they would put up crazy numbers.
But when you're comparing quarterbacks, you compare what they did in their era. And Dan Marino was head and shoulders above. But Dan Marino was head and shoulders above his era with throwing the ball. Ben Roethlisberger was not.
Okay, so he's not I'm not saying he's at head and shoulders above, but he's been top 5 for the majority of his
He's
career.
Consistent. He's Frank Gore.
Okay, so we're going to take away. Frank Gore was never a threat. So
you didn't like that, did you?
If you want to go there and throw Elway into it, I just didn't see a mix. That's why I was like, this is kind of I know because I've been thinking about who to put against Big Ben for a long time, and it was I would either did Kelly or Marino. In this case, I did Marino. I haven't been on the wow.
I'm just saying you didn't like that Frank Gore thing at all.
Well, I mean, we talked about Frank Gore, so it's kind of like no one's game plan for Frank Gore, but she game plan for Ben.
I'm just saying you didn't like it. That's all I'm saying. Moving on from Ben and who do we do Ben with? Ben and Marino. Another one you changed was Deshaun Watson. I had Donovan McNabb. You got Steve McNair.
The only reason I did was a battle with Texas, and actually you can switch it back to McNabb. I pulled up, I was copying and pasting some stuff. I had a whole list of verses a couple weeks ago that I had already playing. I unfairly started putting it. So my bad. We can go D-Mac versus Deshaun. See, they are similar.
Yeah, they're very like. This is just me coming off the top of my head. Yeah, this is just me coming off the top of my head. Like, seriously, this is who I thought of in a different era of this football. Like, if McNabb played now, he'd be Deshaun Watson. Like, he's that guy that's good. I don't know that he's ever going to get me over the hump.
All right, Joe, you got this one. Because I got I got a question about that. But go ahead. Joe, you up.
We're doing Watson and McNair?
No. Well, hold up. Reg, who are you taking? Are you taking old or young?
I'm taking Donovan.
All right. Joe, you got Deshaun.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. I'm taking.
You taking what?
Yeah, if we're doing Watson versus McNabb, I'll take Watson right now.
Why?
Just going against the grain.
Why?
Why?
Yes, why?
Okay, well, I think. I don't know. Y'all may not agree with me on this one. To me, I think Watson has a better arm than Donovan McNabb.
What about accuracy?
About the same. I think about the same.
Okay, if you're saying it's the same, one guy won playoff games, the other one win wild card games, I guess.
Question. Hold up. Are we going to base it off the 3 years, first 3 years versus first 3 years, or are you going to
no, you can't go first 3 years with Donovan McNabb.
So a lot of the AFC stuff we can't count because Donovan didn't make the AFC stuff until his fourth and fifth year.
Wait. His second year he was 11-5. His third year he was 11-5. His first year he only started 6 games.
Right, that's what I'm saying. How many games did
he's a 3,000 yard passer in 2 of his first 3 years when he was the starter all 16 games. So he's a 3,000 yard passer in that era. He threw for 21 and 25 touchdowns in that era. Let me pull up Deshaun because I don't. There he goes. 1 second.
I love how you keep saying in that era like that.
Yeah, because I'm about to look at Deshaun. Deshaun now, his first year, he had 19 touchdowns, 26. His first 3 years, his high is 26. In that 3 years, like, he lost the MVP, and the MVP got 52 touchdowns. So, like, in his era where they throw the football, he's okay with throwing touchdowns. Like, I'm just saying that era is important. I'm taking Donovan McNabb.
All right. So
it's just a short sample. I mean, if you're based off numbers, yeah, I guess it's such a short sample size, and it was Watson got hurt his rookie year too.
But McNabb only played 6 games, so you can't. That's a wash. Like, that's a wash.
Oh, okay. That's not even. Okay, so they both
hurt
their first.
Well, no, Donovan didn't get hurt. He just didn't start.
He didn't start, right. Like, it's a wash.
Yeah, right.
Like, these 3 seasons are very comparable, so I didn't know why you threw it out. Like, I'm confused.
So, here, I guess I'll be the tiebreaker. The only reason I'm going to pick Donovan over D-Hop is one specific reason. Donovan did not have a go-to receiver until 2003. At that point was his 4th year. That's when T.O. came. Before that, Donovan put up solid numbers, but here's the catch that
with Fred Barnett. No. Say it. With Fred Barnett. That was his top receiver. Fred freaking Barnett. Anybody that's listening to us right now, go look up Fred Barnett.
Fred Mitchell. You mean Fred Mitchell?
No, I'm talking about Barnett.
No,
because it was a Tim Barnett in Kansas City.
I'm telling you, it's Freddie Mitchell. Just look it up. It's Freddie Mitchell. The only thing I will say is, if you look at passing percentage, D-Hop was destroying Donovan. Good Lord, Donovan was barely over 56%, No, it was 58, 57, 50. So I'm going year 2 and 3. 58, 57, 33, 32. Deshaun did have 4,000, but again, you're talking about no go-to receiver versus a guy that had a go-to. Wow. I'm going to stick with Donovan just because of that factor. And his division was a lot tougher than this division is with Deshaun Watson. And I'm not taking anything away with Deshaun. I just think that their division back then when Dallas was still on point, the Giants were a definite threat with that was a Strahan and Jesse Armstead years at first. Jason Sehorn in the back, but they were a lot tougher, and he still managed to win games. So I'm going to go, and there's no spread option. The Texans definitely run the spread. So I'm going to go with C-Mac on this.
So you're right. You're right about the receiver. It was Mitchell, not Barnett. Before I'm old. I showed my age that time. I showed my age that time. Nobody go back and look up Freddie Barnett. Don't do it. Don't show how old I am. What you got, Joe?
Like 60.
Joe?
What's the next matchup?
All right.
Running back Henry and George. Are we doing that one? Or?
Yeah, we can.
Y'all want to do Derrick Henry and George, or y'all want to go to Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers?
Let's go to Battle of Green Bay.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Go ahead, Justin.
If I'm going Battle of Green Bay, actually, you know what? I thought about this. This was a great one. A-Rod versus Brett Favre. The gunslinger versus the California kid versus Old Mississippi. I actually am going with Brett Favre. Reason is because the fact of the matter is Brett Favre was doing more. It's another doing more with less situation, but he made his wide receivers stars. Aaron Rodgers, I don't think, made them stars. They were kind of already on the cusp. I mean, Jordy Nelson came in the league shitting. But also the fact of the matter is, I just thought Brett Favre was a lot tougher. Like, people respected Brett Favre a lot more than they did A-Rod. Outside of when Brett was shitting on A-Rod when he got drafted, which that was just an old man. Joe?
Oh, that's a tough one. I would probably go Favre based on kind of what you said, durability, range speed or whatever. Brett Favre was out there. He could have had a dislocated finger or whatever, but he was out there. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, he's missed some time due to injury. Brett Favre, for the most part, was never really a fragile player.
Wait, so both of y'all picked Brett Favre? I stepped away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm taking Brett Favre.
But Aaron
Rodgers is probably more talented quarterback.
I'm building my franchise with Aaron Rodgers.
Why?
Accuracy, willing to take a chance without throwing as many interceptions. He's a winner. He did win his own Super Bowl. He's won with less talent. I'm starting my franchise with Aaron Rodgers.
Wait, come on. They both went to the Super Bowl and won one. Actually,
with less talent.
Won Aaron 1-0.
Less talent was what I said. With less talent. Yeah, that's what I said. That's exactly what I said.
On the receiving tip, if you're going to go with Brett Favre's defenses over the years, I totally understand that. Because defensive-wise, on the Green Bay Packers, that's probably one of the greatest defenses in that decade, in the 90s decade. Because of course it started by one of the GOATs. And if anybody arguing about greatest defensive linemen all the time, we go at it, hand it down all day, Reggie White. So I'll give you that.
Yeah, who you removed off of my list today because you didn't want to compare him to J.J. Watt. But
there's no way in hell we're going to have that battle. Because who's taking J.J. Watt?
I'm not taking J.J. Watt. I'm on record for calling him the Great White Hype. I can't call him that. And defending, just don't blame me. Blame Justin for not wanting to take, the hometown guy. I'm from Kansas City.
you know, let me just keep it real. If anybody knows me, and you can call any of my homeboys from back in the day, I was the biggest. There's two people they know, hands down.
Bro, my name is Reggie.
And you are not the Reggie I'm talking about.
But I'm saying my name is Reggie. You think I'm taking J.J. Watt over Reggie? No. What happened was Joel didn't want anything to do with the hometown. I'm not from Houston. I'm from Kansas City. So there's no way in West Hill I'm going to be taking J.J. Watt over Reggie White. My name is Reggie.
Bro, I wouldn't have took Bruce Smith over J.J. Watt.
Exactly. Like...
You're not even there. Your name ain't Bruce, and neither is still ain't no Bruce wrong with you.
But
there's certain players, there's certain things. If you're going against Reggie White, Bruce Smith, LT, I mean,
Derrick Thomas.
There's not a modern day player. The Derrick Thomas one, I was like, bro, you really. I mean, we could talk about this one, but that's really pushing it too.
Why? I like Von Miller. I think he's comparable.
I like him, but again,
I think he's comparable. Because he didn't have a Neil Smith.
I get that. But, again, if we're going to talk about the three, with LT, Reggie White, and Bruce Smith, I'm sorry. There's not a person in this modern-day NFL era that can go against them. None.
Well, but you got to be able to compare him. And J.J. Watt, I get the straight hand thing. Like, I do. I 100% get it. But, like, why is Reggie White off limits?
Who's going to battle it? Who's going to sit there and say,
Joe?
He didn't change the – well, Joe would be foolish. Sorry, Joe. I had to call you. If you took it, you would be
Well, no. I'm not. I told you. Like I said, I'm not going to see fool. I am not going to take Reggie White over Reggie White. I'm not.
So that means we need to find us a millennial because y'all old. Like, we got to find somebody that's going to take JJ. Like, seriously. Like, we have to.
You might get more Gastineau versus J.J.
No.
Watt. Okay, cool.
No. You have to go J.J. Watt, Defensive Player of the Year, blah, 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 Reggie White. Like, you have to compare the two. You have to be legitimately ready to have the argument. And I'm not going against a fellow Reggie because that's just not what I'm going to do.
Really?
And I'm from Kansas. Like, if he was in Kansas City, that'd be different. But I enjoyed Reggie White because his name was Reggie. That's what drew me to watching him play football.
Reggie Roby,
him too.
Reggie
Yes,
Miller,
all those guys I was drawn
Reggie
to.
Bush,
Yes.
Reggie Jackson.
Yes.
Reggie Bush.
Yes. All the above. Yes, I was drawn to them because of their name. And
folks, next week we're going to do Barry Sanders versus Reggie Bush, and definitely
nah, because I'm a Barry Sanders fan. Like, I am the believer that he's the number one running back of all time. So no, I'm not doing that.
Why?
Because he's the number one running back of all time. Like,
he's a Reggie though.
It doesn't matter.
I mean, it's a Reggie versus Barry.
Like, that's what should tell you. Like, that J.J. Watt. Listen. We need to find a millennial that's going to argue the point of J.J. Watt. Enough for the fact that he's the great white hype.
They'll say that he won more Defensive Player of the Year awards than Reggie White.
I mean, but aren't you the Texans fan?
Well, again, J.J. Watt had the stats. I give you that. But Reggie White was also in an era of ALC. Remember, how many players, let's just be honest, how many players in the NFL have been on defense have been in two different decades of all pros. Different decades of all decade teams. It's not a lot.
Listen,
Reggie White was in there for the 80s and 90s.
I love Reggie White for his name, but I hated to see him. Like, I hated to root against him in the rare occasion the Chiefs played against his teams. Like,
because
he was a monster.
Thank you.
Yeah, he was a
Every
monster.
Time y'all had to play him, it was scary.
He was a monster. Like, this is like when I went Derrick Thomas, Von Miller. To me, to every other team in the league, Von Miller seems to dominate. But he has a problem against Mitchell Schwartz. Like, some people just have your number. Derrick Thomas didn't have that guy that could shut him down until he got much later in his career. So, like, when we go through these, I picked 58 versus 58 because I think he picked the number 58 because of Derrick Thomas. Like, Is there another?
It's hard on that category, bro. When you're talking about the GOAT and Reggie, it's easier to do quarterbacks and running backs and wide receivers
But
than
we
it
can't.
ever is to do.
But you know what? I
And we
find
can't always
I find myself, because I used to love, like I thought I was a quarterback. I find myself making sure that I pick outside of that position. So I had to go DT Von Miller. I had to go Megatron versus Julio. I had to do those things because I don't want to get pigeonholed to just being a quarterback or an offensive guy.
totally love that. I agree with you with that. But when you put Reggie White against anybody, when you got a guy that defines the game, defines the defensive line, period. Reggie White, I'm going to keep it real. Reggie White was the Michael Jordan of the defensive line for a lot of years.
Whoa.
I'm saying that because there was only two people in competition. I'll take it back. Maybe not Mike, because Mike was in the category by himself. But Reggie, there was only two people you would ever talk about in that whole era. That's Reggie White and Bruce Smith.
But in
There was
this
no one
era,
else.
on the defensive line, J.J. Watt is that guy.
No, J.J. Watt was that guy for about 4 or 5 years.
But, hey, 4 or 5 years out of 10 is the majority. Because no one else took the other 6.
How many times was this is my biggest question. J.J. Watt got a lot of one-on-one coverage, which was still surprising to this day because he was on the other side. He started off with Mario Williams, who was a bust. And then David Connie, who was a bigger bust.
You know who I really want to compare?
One-on-one coverage.
You know who I really want to compare him to?
Huh?
You know who I really want to compare JJ to?
Who?
Jared Allen.
I would go with that comparison more than I would have did.
But then if we do that, it's just because of race, because J.J. Watt was clearly the best player in the league that year. It was clear.
You got to pull the race card to do what you got to do.
But
I would have said one better, which is Reggie White versus and he's not a household name as much, but two names came up: Elvis Dumerville, DeMarcus Ware. Those two guys.
I think you're being racist. I think you're being racist. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it here. I'm just gonna say I think you're being racist because J.J. Watt, for at least that year, was simply the best defensive player in football. And
so I'm being racist. I'm not saying that he wasn't.
But you're comparing him to. You'd rather compare him to Jared Allen than Reggie White. I think you're kind of being
White
racist.
On a whole different level. That's not racist. That's a whole new
but
level.
Elvis Dumerville?
Because he had 20 sacks in 2 different seasons. DeMarcus Ware had 19, 17, 17, and 18.
But J.J. Watt was clearly the best player on the field. Those guys.
So how am I being racist? I'm trying to compare stats now. So you can't call me a racist. So when you call the race card, remember, we're on a podcast where people will go there and eat that race card and roll with it. You can't call a race card.
I don't mean it like that. I just mean it like.
But you know, people take it like that.
Yeah, like I just think you're pigeonholing him against the white guy.
I'm pulling against stats. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm a J.J. Watt fan. I thought the man is great. But you're not going to go ahead and put just.
Why not?
Reggie White.
Because if you put the numbers, if you compare their numbers are comparative.
That's keeping it real. That's like putting Pat against Tom in his prime.
No, because Tom in his prime was never the best quarterback in the league. Like, he was just the gatekeeper of the kingdom.
Or Platt versus Joe Montana, right? You can't do it yet.
No, because he's young.
Not yet.
Like, right. I don't like. Only reason I give him past Dan Marino was because of the will to come back and win the championship. But you still got to hit those numbers. Like,
I totally agree with you. But the J.J. Watt one is a hard one to do with because the fact of the matter is, it's not. You said the great white height. Cool, got that. But the fact of the matter is when you start going against the greats of all time on the defensive line, you're talking about guys that.
But he deserves it.
Let's be real. One, he's not even on the pace to get to 200 sacks at this rate now. 2, Reggie White had more sacks by the age of 30 than JJ does. 3, JJ was in hands clear of his class by itself. There's no one else comparable. You had Von Miller for a high second. You had Alden Smith for a high second until he flamed out. You had Chandler Jones for a high second, and then he comes and goes. So there's no one that's consistently been battling with him his whole career. So he can go ahead and clearly dominate because there isn't none.
So
Julius Peppers, not even him.
I'll give you that because I'm looking at JJ's numbers, and he had great numbers for 4 seasons. But in between those, like, he had 20.5, 10.5, 20.5, 17.5, and then 1.5, and then 0, right. And then 16, and then 4, and then 5.
Yeah.
Reggie White was consistent. Yeah, Reggie White was consistent.
Exactly. Plus, again, the only reason why I'm going to use Reggie always had someone to go against. He always had Bruce Smith in his window. He technically had LT in his window because LT was a blitzing linebacker. He wasn't really a coverage one. Everybody, even LT said himself.
Like his career low in sacks is 8. 8.
Right. And that was an injury play season. Yeah. Not to mention Reggie White. If you go back to the USFL, remember, my man started in the USFL, not he didn't get drafted to the NFL, so his body of work is just much better, bro. I'm sorry. Yeah. I mean,
I'm just saying, but you gotta get.
It's just the body of work.
The only reason I'm giving you a pass is because we have talked a lot of Texans on this cast. Other than that, then yeah. Let's go to which one do you all think we need to cover before the end of the show? Because we got about 8 minutes.
Well, the Julio Megatron one is actually intriguing. Okay. I'll let y'all debate about that, but I thought that was actually a good one.
What you mean?
Especially now that both of them have been a decade. Both of them were all decade for this year. So I thought that Julio versus Megatron is actually a good matchup. But, yeah, I got this.
Yeah, I definitely thought, like, when I thought of names and guys, Julio versus Megatron was probably the most intriguing matchup because of truly how dominant they could be. I'm taking Megatron because, quite simply, he could take over a game, and that was just because he decided to. Like, he's Megatron. There's a reason why we called him Megatron, because he was absolutely a dominant force when he decided he wanted to be a dominant force.
But he never really took time off either. The reason he retired earlier is because they didn't want to trade him.
He didn't want to play for Detroit anymore. He in 8
Everybody knows the story. And the year that Carolina went to the Super Bowl, they were going to trade him for like 5 picks, including a number 1, basically making that Stephon Diggs trade look like apples and oranges and making the E-Hop trade look really retarded. And Detroit didn't pull the trade. And he knew he was stuck for 3 more years, so he just retired. He called Barry Sanders. Barry Sanders, do what you do, and they retired. Detroit got to learn a lesson. And you guys, if y'all ain't doing nothing, you guys are done. Let them go, please.
So both of these guys play 8 years in the league, okay? So far. And we know Julio's going to play longer, but both of these guys play 8 years in the league. After 8 years, CJ had 731 catches, and Julio has almost 800, 797. Yards, Julio leads by 1,000. I'm going to say this, and I'm taking Calvin Johnson because both of these quarterbacks, to me, are equally as bad. This is really awful. Yeah, but this is the truth. Both of these quarterbacks are equally as bad. I don't give a damn about what Matt Ryan's been able to do with an abundance of talent around him. If I'm playing a pickup game, I'd probably pick Stafford over Ryan because of the arm. Megatron was, like, when he wanted to be dominant, that's exactly what he was. I don't know that Julio has had that switch where he can just decide he wants to dominate and does it.
So, Joe, you got Julio.
He's like, I disagree. I agree with him. He does not want Julio.
All right, cool. Go ahead, Joe. You're the middleman. Go ahead. Well, no, you got to actually. Go ahead. Go. I'm sorry.
Oh no, I was gonna say I'm taking Megatron too. Like Reddy said, the guy was just freak in nature. I mean, even come out of college, seemed like he probably could have been the number one pick when he got drafted. But excuse me, I go back to a game when the Lions played the Cowboys and Megatron was just unstoppable. It's almost like Farve just threw the ball up, and guy would have 4 guys around him, and excuse me, and he would just he would. And somehow his hands were just, it's just unbelievable watching the guy play. Excuse me, guys. Go ahead, Justin.
I hate to do this, because this was a great one. But I gotta go with Megatron too, because
wait. Somebody's gotta take Julio. Somebody, like all 3 of us cannot take Megatron.
You know what? Fine, I'm gonna take Julio. The reason why I'm gonna take Julio is because the fact of the matter is, Julio actually was a beast. There's something Megatron couldn't do, was a beast in the playoffs.
How many times did he get there?
4. So, Julio's first game in the playoffs, 7 catches, 64 yards. The second year, 17 catches, 241 yards in 2 games. Super Bowl year was 19 receptions, 334 yards. And then the year after that was 2 games, 18 receptions, 195 yards. My man was killing. Considering the fact his number 2s were Mohamed Sanu, Dork. Roddy White was gone at this point, but he had Roddy White for about 2 or 3 years. And Roddy White was really the Michael Vick era, and then he got hurt when Vick actually came back. Julio's worst year is he had 5 games. He played 5 games, but had up 500 yards, which means he was still averaging 100 yards a game. He's never, outside of his rookie year, had under 1,000 yards for a season, including an 1,800-yard season, including a 1,600-yard season, and even this past year where he had a 1,300-yard season. Thusly, why he should have been paid one of the most paid wide receivers in the league. Now, the knock against him,
touchdowns,
is same knock that Megatron had, which was touchdowns. Except for Megatron's breakout year, which was 2011 when he had 15,
bro, they both have played 8 years so far. One has 57, one has 83. So no.
So the biggest thing is why I didn't want to take Julio. But the biggest thing is why I didn't want to. Only thing I can go against, and here's the one biggest problem, and I'm gonna say this: the reason why I had Megatron on the low is because his first 2 years he had Joey Harrington in his last year. Dante Culpepper, by that point, was fat. Dan Orlovsky, Sean King, who was bad at that point. Sean King.
Wait, not at that point. Don't try to give him a pass. He was just bad.
But at that point, Sean King was horrible.
Okay, so, you can say that, but don't say bad like it was like something new. He was, no. Dude, no.
He had a good run.
No.
But the whole point I'm trying to drive at is Megatron's numbers were just I really hate for the guy that had to retire so soon. I really wish Detroit.
It's a Detroit way of living.
Yeah.
If you get drafted by that team, it's like a nightmare and a half.
So just imagine this real quick. Imagine if that trade went through and he would have been in Carolina. Cam would still probably be in Carolina, and that team would have been willing because
they'd have won a Super Bowl.
They would have won a Super Bowl. Probably would have went back because Cam would have had a weapon. And the only person they could have blamed if they faulted or did anything wrong would have been Cam.
So the one thing
you gave Cam a weapon, the ultimate weapon.
The one thing that we seem to all agree on is that the city of Detroit kills careers of Hall of Fame players.
Boy, like no other.
Like they destroyed the career of the greatest running back of all time. They destroyed the career of what probably would have went down as the greatest wide receiver of all time. Detroit needs to get out. Like they're almost as bad as Cleveland, but they're not quite as bad. Anyway,
I got a question.
Go ahead.
Hold up, I got one question. Because he retired early, and this is always taboo with the NFL, When a guy retires early, they're harder to get to the Hall of Fame. Now, Megatron retired in 15, so technically he's eligible for the Hall of Fame starting next year. Is he a Hall of Famer?
I don't know. Like, he only was over 100 receptions in one season in his career. So I just don't know.
But here's the thing. Most of the Hall of Famers that you've seen in the wide receiver category have one huge stat. They all went over 10,000 yards receiving. He's done that.
Yeah.
Most of them had at least 75 touchdowns. He's done that. Yeah, you're right. He's only had 1 year that he went over 1,000 yards. But think about it on the flip side with Randy Moss. We talk about it. Yeah, you get the ball a lot, but if you airing it out and you get 3 catches for 150 yards versus 11 catches for 100 yards, I'm killing and getting it. So it really comes down to touchdown.
I just don't know.
My man got a 96-yard touchdown.
Great. That's one time in your career. Congratulations. You got lucky.
No. I'm just saying the fact of the matter is he has 11,000 yards. In my opinion, once you get over 10,000 yards receiving, I think you automatically should be considered for the Hall of Fame.
Nah, I don't think anything's automatic when we're talking about the greatest players of all time. Especially because eras change and we're throwing the ball a lot more now than we did in previous eras. I think some of these numbers just look a little better, but because of when they played, they're not as good as they seem.
So, question: if they're not over 1,000 yards, what's the statistic? Let's bring up one question. What is the stat you would consider to make a person a Hall of Famer?
Listen, because of Frank Gore, I can't give you a number because I don't believe Frank Gore is a Hall of Famer.
Not for Frank Gore.
But if I had to take him out of the list, and then because of the eras in which they play, like, it would be a whole homework assignment.
Reggie, guess what you got? Homework.
I got enough homework, okay?
Guess what you got? I got homework, too. That homework if you want this one.
I got it.
Like that Hall of Fame question we got for next one. That's why I said let's table that Hall of Fame question for a couple of weeks and come back to the table.
Yeah, because when I look
I really think Megatron Hall of Fame.
But I'm looking at a 55.7 catch percentage versus targets. Like, these things to me matter. And
the target thing, I get it. But in the same note, if we're going to go here off a target and off of that,
catches
when we go back
per
we're
target,
use the 80s. But here's the thing: you're using an era back in the days where guys were getting 15 catches a game because they were throwing to primarily one receiver, and it wasn't spread. It was still the running era. Versus now, everything is aired out. The NFL has made a rule basically so wide receivers can go ape shit, so it's faster scoring, higher numbers. You know, you're not going to. Let's be honest. Name me a time where even Tyreek Hill on your squad. Name me a time where you're going to get a guy that's going to have double-digit receptions unless the quarterback is just that trash. It doesn't happen anymore because of the spread. Everybody gets a chance to touch the ball.
All I'm saying is Matt Stafford was his quarterback for basically his entire career. He had 2 years before Matt Stafford arrived. So that was his quarterback the entire time. His team, the organization, believes in Matt Stafford, so they keep signing him to contracts, apparently.
You can't help him go to the ball.
This guy's a 62% passer, but you only catch 55% of his balls. Listen, reliability comes into play at some point, and that matters. Like, Julio catches 63% of balls. CJ caught 55% of balls.
So let me ask you this question. Can you find me some guys that are clearly Hall of Fame bound? Because I'm pretty sure AB's numbers in that category are high either.
God, I don't want to believe.
Find me 4
Can we
or 5
disqualify
guys
AB?
No, we got to put up the stats. I'm just saying. I would disqualify him for the Hall of Fame in general, yes, because of how he acted.
Right.
But if we're going statistics, the reason why I'm saying this is give me 4 or 5 Hall of Fame guys, 4 or 5 guys that had that category. Because you disqualified Randy and now Megatron.
I didn't. No. I didn't disqualify Randy. I just said Michael Thomas was better. Is better.
Let's use find 4 or 5 guys.
Michael Thomas is on that list, right?
Well, I'm talking about Michael Thomas is still young in his career. I'm talking about at least 6 years in the league. Find 5 or 6 guys. Or no, just find 3 guys that have maybe 70 or 80% catching percentage, so on and so forth.
Like I'm looking at Reggie Wayne at 62.5. That's much better than either one of those guys.
That's 52. Where's Marvin Harrison?
I'm getting there. I'm getting there. Trust me.
4 or 5 years of career had Marvin Harrison and Dallas Clark. And Edge catching the ball too. That's a hard one.
I'm just saying that if I throw you the ball 100 times and you only catch 55 of them, as a quarterback, I'm pissed off. That's what I'm saying.
But that doesn't.
But that's what I'm saying. Like I trust you to catch the ball when I throw you the ball. Marvin Harrison is above 60% also. 61.
So let me ask you this question: when you do that, are you pulling up the drop categories?
I'm pulling up.
How many drops did they?
Target versus catch.
But targets can also mean that the quarterback either overthrew the ball or it's a bad play. What is a drop? Like, how many times did it touch the guy's hand and he dropped
I'm pulling
the ball?
target versus catch.
Category.
I'm talking about 62% to 55. I'm talking about 63% to 55.
If you're overstaffing, the fact is if you got a guy to get 53% of the time.
I'm going to say this.
My quarterback is throwing it half the time.
It's not exactly like they have Gus Frerotte throwing them the ball. It's not exactly like they have Steve Bono or Tyler Thigpen throwing them the ball. They have decent quarterbacks. That's my point. They have decent quarterbacks, and like when your career high of catching the ball is 66.5, some of that's you, some of that's the quarterback. Yes, but
Brad, that's my whole point. If they're not spreading the ball around, here's the thing: most quarterbacks spread the ball around. They make targets. So Julio, if you got 80% of the time is going to Megatron, that means that the other players only getting the ball 20% of the time. What I'm trying to say is most of these guys towards this era spread the ball around where they are passing it to multiple targets. This is why I'm saying, are you adding drops to the matter? Because if you're saying, okay, he's getting past this amount of times, but he also had this amount of drops. This is why if you're going to use someone like T.O., T.O. had a ton of drops in the Cowboy days with Momo. If you're going to need that, I'm pretty sure if you pull up T.O.'s Dallas days, his numbers weren't that high because he was throwing it to also Jason Witten and Miles Hoskins. It's hard to use that stat when you don't know the spreading of the offense.
But the stat is over the career. It's not over a couple of days. The stat is over the career.
I get it. Okay, so again, my point is that quarterback is just pinpointing on one receiver. That means that team is never going to be successful because you only got one target. So I'm trying to figure out what's the drop, what's the time, how many targets was overthrown, because these are all factors that don't go with that statistical category. That's what I'm trying to figure out. If you can give me that, then it makes me feel a little bit more
I'm just saying that the Texans have only had one receiver since DeAndre Hopkins has been in the league, and he's still at 60%. That's all I'm saying. He's their number one, their only. And he's still at 60%. That means he gets more, but that means he gets more targets. But that means he gets more targets, and because he gets more targets, you're right. But he's still above those guys, so catch percentage has to matter. But
if you're a quarterback, you're going to spread the ball. You're not going. If Megatron is open, cool. But if Megatron,
that's not how that happened. You know that Matt Stafford was a Megatron force feeder. You know that.
What I'm saying,
same thing for Matt Ryan and Julio Jones. He's a force feeder because who else is out there?
Because sometimes Matt did. Because remember, he was passing it to what was the boy's name? Not Henry this time. Hooper and Sanu. When Sanu can catch the ball, that was
Sanu since he left Cincinnati has been a third receiver at best. But we got to get back to all this. How the hell did we go over time with no live sports? I don't understand that. We are over our time tonight. I am KC Reginald Jr.
Hey, Dub, in the building, trying to figure out what's going on in the world, baby. But we need sports.
Jay Swish, Joel Swish in the house, y'all.
This has been UnderDawg Sportz.